This story begins with a $187 repair, a clear plastic outlet cover on the exterior brick wall of a Michigan condominium. Over time, that $187 charge grew into more than $20,000, not because of luxury upgrades, not because of unpaid years of dues, but through fees, interest, and legal charges applied to a single account. Today, we're going to walk through the account ledger at a high level and hear directly from the co-owner whose home and financial stability were placed at risk. This is a real co-owner story that raises serious questions about how quickly things can escalate inside an HOA. Okay, before we get started, we're going to just cover a few of the ground rules on the screen. This is LJ's lived experience. Please be thoughtful. We're here to inform, not to inflame. This is not legal advice, just shared lessons. Documents are shown with permission. Privacy and respect matter. All sensitive information has been verified and redacted for privacy. Let's start. So this is LJ's home. How are you, LJ?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start by asking you a few questions. Um, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in your home?
Sure. I moved here in June of 2014, so I've been here a little over 11 years now. This was my first time purchasing a home, and I was very excited. I love the community. I was very proud of myself that I was able to make such a good purchase, and I've been very happy here up until uh, this last 2 years. It seems that the HOA here has turned my dream of being a homeowner into a nightmare, and it's just been totally devastating.
Understood. So, notwithstanding that, can you tell us what your home means to you? And I love the pictures, by the way.
Thank you. I mean, my home is my peace and my sanctuary. It's my pride and my joy. Um, each year that I've been here, I've done a project. So I may have painted, I've put down floors, I did upgrades. Each year I've done something new. So when I get done, when I come home, it's peaceful. It's warm. It's welcoming, and I love entertaining and having my family over and my friends and cooking and just watching movies or having, game night parties with family and friends.
Wonderful. Sounds just like home should be.
Yes.
So, LJ, what made you decide to share your story now?
Well, for one, I had been dealing with uh, legal in our HOA for quite some time. But now that I'm out of legal, I want to share this story with my community and with other HOA communities that I don't want this to happen to anyone. And we really have to get in front of this and stop these HOAs. As a homeowner, I have the HOA board has so much control over things. Renters have more rights than homeowners do, and things need to change. So I want to make people aware of how things can easily escalate out of control. And I did everything that I could to prevent this, and it was to no fault on my own. I felt like I was just being attacked, and there was nothing I could do.
Okay. So, this all started over a $187 repair, which spun out of control pretty quickly. Can you walk us through how it began, please?
That is correct. it actually started in 2021, around August of 2021. I placed a work order through an application that we use for placing work orders. So the work order was originally placed for a plumber. We pay our HOA fees. Our water is paid in our HOA fees. So I had a leak under my bathroom sink and I had a leak under the kitchen sink. And every time there was a hard rain, I thought that water was leaking through my walls because it would knock off the GFI plug in the powder room on the main floor, which would then in turn knock out the exterior light outside of my home. So if there were times when I were coming home after work and it's dark outside, it's very, very dark around the garage area. So I placed a work order. The manager of our association answered it and sent me a voicemail that they would send out a plumber to the repairs. So the plumber comes out, he tears a hole in my drywall in the garage and says, no, there's no water leaking in here. I'm not sure why your GFI plug is coming out. And he did repair the leak under the sinks. And that was it. So the plumber leaves. I get no bill. I get nothing. And then all of a sudden, maybe that was in 2021. And then in January, I received a bill from the plumber. I contacted the board. I met with the board and said I was unaware that this was my expense because I put in the work order to you all. You all sent them out. And I said, and I still have a hole torn in my wall because the plumber, they don't repair the holes that they tear in your drywall. So I meet with the board in March of 2022, or the end of March or beginning of April of 2022. And I said, and I'm still having the exact same problem about every time there's heavy flooding rains, my GFI pops out. And that's a hazard to me because that's saying that there could possibly be a fire if water is in the wall, or it could eventually grow into mold. So I met with the board. One lady who was there, a former board member, says, "Oh, that's not a problem. It happens to me all the time. That's been happening." I said, "Well, I don't want it to continue to happen to me." So the board president then tells me that we'll send maintenance over to repair the drywall in your garage, and they will take a look to see if it's our problem. Then we'll send someone over. If it's your problem, then you'll take care of it. Is that fair? I said, sure, that's fair. So maintenance comes over in April, and 2 days, for about 2 to 3 days, and they patch the wall and paint it back and everything, and it's fine. So that was done. I never heard anything back from the board. I never put in another work order. I never did ask, what were the results or anything. I just dealt with this, especially since the other board member said it's always been happening to her. So I have a freezer in my garage. So that was one of the main concerns, because when that plug goes out, that also makes the freezer go out too. So I just bought a heavy duty extension cord. And when I watched the weather report and knew that it was going to rain or heavy rains, I would turn on the outside porch light and make sure that I just plug the freezer up into the heavy duty extension cord and plug it inside the house. Well, now we moved 6 months later and it happened to be September 15th, which is a couple of days after my birthday. And I happen to be off work and I'm home, and there's a white van that just pulls up in my driveway. As a white panel van. So the guy gets out and I meet them at my courtyard gate, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he was like, "I'm here. I have a work order and I'm here to make some repairs." I was like, "I didn't call you. I don't know what you're talking about." So he says, he starts to read the information. You think there's water. You have a GFI. He said, I'm sent here on behalf of Kramer, which is our management company. And I said, "Oh, okay." So I keep my gate locked. So I unlocked it and I let him in. He said, "I know exactly what the problem is." And I'm gonna repair it. So he goes to the outside plug that's on the garage wall, on the brick wall. He scrapes out some dirt and everything. He recalks it, and then he places this plastic lid over it. And he says, "Okay, you're all set. You'll never have this problem again." I said, "That's it?" He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Well, they also sent someone out to seal the windowsill above the garage because they thought the water was leaking there." He's like, "No." He said, "It's coming from here, and you're all set, and I guarantee you'll never have the problem again. Thank you." And he leaves. I didn't get an invoice. I didn't get a card. I don't even know his name. I don't know what company he came from. I didn't know anything. I trusted him because he said that he was sent on behalf of our management company, which is Kramer. So he leaves, and that's the end of it. Then I always pay my fees online every month. I have never missed paying my fees since I've been here. Even during the pandemic, I was still blessed to be able to pay my fees and my mortgage on time. Never made any late payments ever. So I go to make my payment the next year. I made payments on time every month. So April of 2024, my account is locked. So I called and said, "Why is my account locked?" Then I'm told, I call Kramer and say, "Why is my account locked?" "Oh, you're in legal." So I go to my mailbox. Now, this is April 9th when I'm talking to them. I go to my mailbox and I have a letter from an attorney that was dated as of March 22nd stating that they are debt collector attorneys and they're here to collect the debt. And I owe $917, which included legal fees, late fees, and maintenance fees. So I immediately emailed the debt collector attorney and said, "Please provide me with the alleged proof of debt." So they sent over a bill that didn't have my name on it that's already been paid. So I continued each month to still make my payments. And each month I sent an email to them saying, "Please provide me with proof of debt. Who authorized this? What was going on? This is a work order, and a work order has nothing to do with why you can't accept my association fees."
Okay. And then all of a sudden, you see a $187 charge on your account.
Correct.
And tell us about that.
The $187 charge was I'm assuming that's the invoice that they continued to send me that was made out to the management company, billed to the management company. It did not have my name on it, nor did it have my address on it, and paid by the management company. And my point that I was kept trying to make over and over to them, and I even asked the attorney that the board hired to let me meet with the board again, and the board refused to meet with me. The board is volunteer. The board is my neighbors. They live on my street. They live in back of me. They live in front of me, around the corner from me. They live in this community. I see them at our local grocery store. I see them just walking around in our community when I'm out walking, and they refuse to meet with me. They refuse to even discuss the alleged bill with me at all. But instead, they continue to allow fees to build up more and more and more and more and more. And I continue to pay my monthly fees. I mailed them in, and so they would cash them, they would deposit them, hold on to them, and then send them back to me after like the 16th or the 17th of each month.
You were actually locked out of your account. You're trying to make the payments. You're making the payments.
Yes.
They cash the checks and return the payment to you.
Yes.
What do you do next?
I take each payment that was sent back to me and I open up a separate account and I put them in escrow. So I held every payment. I did not commingle them with my current account. I went to my credit union and opened up a second account.
Okay. So this is where the escalation begins. with the fees and legal expenses and other things just sort of snowballing because they're no longer accepting your payments. So now you're seeing this build up in your account. Is
Yes,
that accurate?
that is correct.
Okay, so just to close this portion, we're showing where the account ultimately landed. Um, let's see. Let's work on the timeline a little bit, LJ, because it's been quite a thing for you. So back in October 22 to early 2024, when that first $187 charge hit, um, you had some monthly dues, and then all of a sudden you were getting the repeated $40 late fees, which you actually were not late because
Correct.
you had been making your payments. And then the legal fees started to escalate somewhere around March through July 2024. Does that sound about right? What happened?
Well, the legal fees were already on the first letter. The first letter that I received in March of 2024 was already a threatening letter that if I didn't pay, that they were going to place a lien on my property. So the
Mm-hmm.
very first letter that I got was threatening a lien, and by May they placed the lien on my property. And then it continued to escalate until finally I was served a lawsuit also that I had to answer. So I answered all of that, and um, I was getting advice from a family friend and attorneys that I know also, and everything was done by a paralegal. So I had assistance from a paralegal. So everything was filed and answered properly, but I was still just being constantly ignored. None of my questions were being answered by the attorney. The board refused to speak to me, and all I wanted to know was how this happened and what is going on. And please, and if the bill was due to me, then I felt that the contractor should have left it with me. And therefore, if I didn't pay $187, that would have been a conflict with me and the contractor, not me and my association.
Correct. So ultimately, your account balance ends up being 20,195 and 64 cents.
Correct. I was supposed to have a court date on October 29th of 2025. Now, during that time, for the last 6 months, I was also caring for a family member from June and up until October. So on October 27th, which was a Monday, I received an e-file from the courts saying that my motion had been denied and I will no longer have a court date, and the judgment is for the plaintiff. And it was $18,623. And that if I did not pay that, within 21 days, they were going to do a share foreclosure sale of my property. So they were going to take my property and sell it. So within the next 48 hours, I'm trying to just wrap my how could this happen? How do I get my voice taken away from the courts when hardcore criminals are out here and they have a voice? You can shoot a CEO and they have live footage of it and you can get a court date, but I'm sitting here in my own home, minding my own business, and you build up all these fictitious fees on me from $187 that you still can't prove the debt is mine because it doesn't have my name on it or my address. And then you charge me, you tell the courts it's $18,623, but and then you put also there are going to be other fees. And then when I call for the final payoff, it's over $20,000.
Right. And if you don't mind, I just want to clarify there is relevant bylaw language pertaining to this. And it states the maintenance, repair, and replacement of the brick walls located in the courtyards shall be borne by the association. So that certainly does sound like that this should have been on the association to cover. Is that how you interpreted this?
Yes, but in my opinion, the HOA board manipulated the attorney, and the attorney, in terms, they were telling them that it was assessments and HOA fees. So they made as if I never was paying my association fee. So everything that was sent to the court continued to say assessments, assessments, unpaid assessments, unpaid assessments, and that's not true. I paid the assessment. When they increased the assessments to $250, I paid that. Then the next year, when they made the assessments $87 on top of our HOA fees, I paid that also, and I continued to pay that. I was never late on anything.
Right.
So because I didn't have my say so in court, the judge never knew what. I never even got a chance to speak with the judge at all. Everything was taken away from me.
Right. And that certainly doesn't sound fair.
No,
Um,
it's not fair at all. It's not, and I
mhm.
don't want that to happen to anyone else. It's not fair.
Right. Now, you talked about the lien a little bit. So, do you want to just sort of walk us through when you received that letter back in 2024 with the $4,000 amount?
Yeah, that's how they recorded the lien at the Oakland County Register of Deeds. The lien was recorded for $4,222. So once that got recorded, it seemed like the whole process was just very draining. And I was just truly blessed that I was actually glad to get it over with. Not happy that I had to pay this money, but I felt like now that I can move on a little with my life, as opposed to I got numerous phone calls from people all the time wanting to know if my property was for sale. I got text messages. It I was afraid to go outside because people were slow rolling past my unit, looking, in my courtyard, all through my window. I wasn't even doing any entertaining or anything like that. So to me, I felt like this was unjustified that you placed the lien on my property for $4,222, and my property is valued at over 200,000. So you were going to steal my property. And I told them that. I said, this is a scam. You all are trying to steal my property, because this wasn't just happening to me. This was happening to others in this community. And unfortunately, some people have lost their property.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so then let me go back here for a second. You, like you said, were very fortunate enough to walk into a bank because you've managed your life and your finances so well that you were able to
Mm-hmm.
get this off of your plate once and for all.
Yes.
Can you talk about how that made you feel when this was finally over?
I was angry. I was disappointed. Um, I was so flustered that this is my hard earned money. I go to work every single day, and it wasn't to pay out $20,000 for a frivolous lawsuit that was placed against me by my neighbors, by a volunteer board. Um, and I'm still angry about it. I'm happy that the lien and the list pending has been discharged. I'm happy that I was truly blessed that I could um, take this money out of my account. But at the end of the day, it was just very draining, and it's unfair. It's unjustified, unfair, and I don't even know how the board or even the attorney could sleep at night. If you call yourself a debt collector attorney, the first thing you can do, you were supposed to do, was prove the debt, and you didn't.
Okay. And looking back, what part of this process was the most confusing or overwhelming for you, LJ?
Just receiving the letter was confused. I was confused. Why was I getting a letter from an attorney when I've done nothing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
They accepted my payments for 18 months, and then you lock my account after you build up all of these fees. And then I wasn't even, didn't even know, or was even told that I was even getting late fees behind the scene. How am I getting late fees behind the scene when I'm paying on time each month? So, the whole thing to me was just a scam, and it was. I felt, in my opinion, it was some type of ploy to steal my property. And I told them that, even in writing. I kept going back, you're trying to steal my property. Why? And it's like, I don't even know how this whole thing even started. And if I put in a work order and the work order is not going to be handled by the association, then just cancel it. Say so. This is not our responsibility. This is your responsibility.
Right.
I know how to hire a contractor.
Yeah. Now, I do agree that there should have been communication that was very clear on who was responsible.
Exactly.
Um, and I just want to go back for just a moment. You mentioned that your account went to legal at $917.
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with the board's threshold that they use to decide when an account goes to legal? Because that seems low to me.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, that would be a question.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard rumors, but I can't, speak on that. But I've heard that I was under the threshold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right. And so you mentioned that you were angry even after you got everything paid off and the lien was discharged. You talked about being angry, but tell me uh, how this whole situation affected you emotionally, otherwise, or day to day, because you were dealing with some other personal things that I'm sure that this situation was only adding to that.
Yeah, it was mentally draining. I was masking each day, keeping it from my mom. My mom was 83 years old. When I bought this property, she was so proud of me.
Yes.
Keeping it from my friends. Um, it was just mentally draining. And then to lose my loved one that I was giving caregiving for at that same time, I didn't want anybody to know that. Then I
Right.
still had to go to work, and I had to put on a different face. So each day I would come home, and instead of me, being with my family and my friends, I would get in the bed because I was exhausted,
Yes.
thinking
Un-
that I was going to lose my property and lose my home.
right. Understood. Do you need a moment?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. So we're almost at the end now. I just wanted to ask a couple more questions.
Sure.
If another co-owner is watching this and feels alone right now, what would you want them to know that you didn't know when this process started for you?
I didn't know that the maintenance fee would come back to me 18 months later. I didn't know that um, my own HOA community board, that are my neighbors, refused to meet with me. Um, I didn't know that no matter what you say, and no matter how much you quote the law to them, that they blatantly disrespect the law, and they continue to move forward with placing um, more and more debt on my account.
Right. Is there anything else that you would like to share, LJ, that you haven't covered today?
This is all public information. Everything that I'm saying here is recorded at the Oakland County Courthouse. The case number is 2025-212-680. C is in Charles, H is in Henry. That's a number that I'll never forget.
Okay. Well, I'm very, very glad that you were able to come on and share your story today. It's a very important story, LJ, and I'm sure, as you've indicated, you're not the only person that has gone through this. in our community and other communities. So certainly you being here brings awareness to this issue, and it took a lot of strength. And I'm very, very grateful that you did that. So I just want to thank you for trusting me with your story and for sharing it so thoughtfully. I know it wasn't easy. If you're a co-owner out there who's felt confused, pressured, or unheard, you're not alone. Every co-owner story matters. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.